logical reasoning. So now logical reasoning is one of the subjects of CSEET, and this small video is based on the e-bulletins released by the ICSI. So these e-bulletins have been released by the institute since April 2020, and so far we have 5 such e-bulletins. Let us see the questions which are there as part of the logical reasoning first. I'm sure if you are preparing for the exams, which will happen in a day or two, you already are aware of the subject logical reasoning. And if at all you are worried as to what exactly is expected out of logical reasoning, fret not, the institute has already clarified it for you. They say logical reasoning is a highly specialized thinking which helps an individual to explore the cause and effect relationship of an event or solution of a problem. It is always supported by the logic and reasoning of the candidate. Meaning, if at all you do something, if at all you try to find out the solution for a particular problem, such solutions or even if any actions for that matter will be backed up by some kind of reasoning. So this is basically what we will be studying in logical reasoning. Now, as I said, there are 5 such e-bulletins, and in every e-bulletin the institute has mentioned few questions from logical reasoning. So there are so many chapters in logical reasoning, and they have selected few chapters in every e-bulletin. We will be covering all those questions starting from April to August. Now this is the first question here. A person who is the husband of my son's sister is my dash. So now this is a question based on blood relations chapter. So one of those chapters which is really very interesting if you are able to understand the relationship between the various parties mentioned in the question. So now let us try to understand what exactly are they asking us. So there is someone, a person, who is referring to someone as the husband of my son's sister. So now what we have to do here is we have to define the relationship. So let us start with my son's sister. If that person is your son's sister, then that person is none other than your daughter. So we have already defined one relationship here. So the person, whoever it is referring to his daughter. Now, he is not only referring to the daughter, he is ultimately saying a person who is the husband of my son's sister. So that means your daughter's husband. Your daughter's husband is none other than your son-in-law. So which is the right option in this case? Son-in-law, option B. So this was a very easy question. Let's move on to the next one. In a row of trees, one tree is fifth from either end of the row. How many trees are there in the row? Okay, this again is purely based on reasoning here. We'll have to imagine the position of trees and identify the number of trees in this particular row. So let's assume that this is a row of trees, and the tree in question, that is the tree which they have mentioned here, that is one tree is the fifth from either end. Let it be in the middle. So now this is the fifth tree from left hand side as well as from right hand side. So now let's start counting from right hand side. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So there are 5 trees from this side. Likewise, let's start counting from the left hand side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 and once again this is the fifth tree from left hand side as well. So that means in total how many trees do we have? 4 plus 1 5 and plus 4 once again. So that means in total we have 9 trees here. Of course, one thing which you need to remember here is if they say there is something which is in the middle or something which has equal number of items on either side, that means we are looking at odd numbers. If it is even numbers, then there is no chance that we will have something in the middle. It will be evenly divided. It will be split into equal halves. Whereas here, it is not the case. We have 4 on the left hand side, 4 on the right hand side and 1 in the middle. So 4 plus 4, 8 plus 1 more tree in the middle, 9 trees. So which is the right answer here? The answer would be option B, that is number 9. Now this is a question related to number series. Let's look at the series here first. So now what we have to do here is we have to fill the gap here. So they say look at this series. So when they say look at this series, what we should do is we should try to identify the rule which this particular series is following. There will be some rule, we'll have to decode that. It will be coded obviously because we do not know yet. So now let us decode it and then find the next number in the series. So now let us start with the first number. So first is 12, then they arrive at 11. So there are different ways of arriving at 11, but the most simplest way of arriving at 11 from 12 would be to deduct 1. So you arrive at 11. So now from 11 they have gone up to 13. So how do we make this 11 13? So very simple, just add 2. Then from 13 they have gone back to 12. So how do you go back from 13 to 12? All you have to do is deduct 1 and you will end up with 12. That means in this case the rule which they are following is -1 plus 2 -1 plus 2 and so on. So now let's look at this series. This is -1 plus 2 -1, then again plus 2 would be 14, then 14 minus 1 will be 13, this is -1, then plus 2 once again, which will lead us to 15. So which is the right answer in this case? The right answer would be number 15. So we are alternating between -1 plus 2, -1 plus 2, -1. We stopped at -1 here, that is 13. So then all we have to do is add 2 more. So you will end up with option D, that is 15. This is verbal reasoning wherein we are looking at the odd one out. So a very simple question wherein they say which word among the 4 words here does not belong with the others. So that means we'll have to pick the odd one out. So we have tire, which is part of a car, then steering wheel, which is also part of a car or any 4-wheeler per se. Then we have engine, once again a part of the car. Then we have the word car itself. So now it is very obvious and very easy for us to pick the odd one out because tire, steering wheel and engine are the various parts of the 4-wheeler, that is in this case car, and car itself cannot be considered as a part of itself. So therefore the odd one out here would be the word car. Next, once again we have number series. Let us look at the series. We have 36 and from 36 they ended up with 34. That means we'll have to deduct 2, so you will get 34. And from 34 they went down to 30. That means they have deducted 4 from 34 to reach 30. And once again from 30 they have deducted 2 and the resulting number is 28. So then 28 minus 4 would be 24. So once again it is easy for us to identify the rule here. In this case the rule is -2 -4, -2 -4. So there is no addition here, it is completely subtraction, but the numbers are alternating between -2 and -4. So next would be -2. That means 24 minus 2, 22. So which is the right answer here? Option A. Next, once again we'll have to look at the words and try to identify the relationship between the words. In this case we will be looking at the words. We have to identify the relationship between the existing words and try to predict the relationship of this word with one of these words. Now they say safe, secure and protect. So safe, secure, it's kind of synonyms. Okay, words with same meaning. Now which is that word which gives us the similar meaning with regard to protect? So lock, guard, sure or conserve. Definitely not conserve, it is totally different. So wherein we try to preserve something. Sure means we are probably answering something, or we are giving a definite or positive affirmation. Lock again could be a noun or a verb wherein we are defining an action or maybe referring to an item. Whereas when we say guard, we are basically doing what? We are protecting. So the most suitable option among the four words would be the word guard. Okay, this is an interesting question wherein we have one statement and two assumptions based on that one statement. So in case of logical reasoning, what usually happens is sometimes the assumptions might be against logic as we generally know, but it might be following the logic which is there in the question. So we have to always observe the statement or the question, and based on that itself we will have to come to any conclusion. So now, what is the statement? Let us read the statement first. Medicine P is a drug which is causing ripples in the medical field. So what we come to know from this single statement is there is some medicine named P, and that particular drug or medicine is causing ripples in the medical field. It is creating waves in the medical field. That's all we know from this. There is no other information which is made available for us. Now, based on this, they have given two assumptions. We'll see if those assumptions will hold any water or not. First assumption says no other drug is causing. The first assumption says no other drug is causing the ripples. No other drug is causing the ripples is something which we cannot infer based on this one sentence. So there is nothing mentioned in the statement which will support this particular assumption. So therefore, this particular assumption is definitely not implicit from the statement. Now let us come to the second assumption. Medicine P is a great drug. Now here we have to be very careful. Of course, this particular medicine P has been causing ripples in the medical field, but we do not know for what purposes that particular P medicine is causing ripples. Is it for good purposes? Is it really a great drug, or is there something which they had never known and they have recently discovered due to this medicine P? We do not know because there is no sufficient information. So therefore, we cannot even imply this second assumption based only on this particular sentence. So now we have analyzed the statement, we have analyzed the assumptions as well. Now let us read the options and select the most appropriate one. So the first option says if only assumption 1 is implicit, obviously not. The second option says if only assumption 2 is implicit, that is also not the case. Third one says if either 1 or 2 is implicit, no way. And finally we are left with the last option wherein they say if neither 1 nor 2 is implicit. Of course, we will have to select this because we know for a fact none of these assumptions are true based on, or rather none of these assumptions are implicit based on this particular statement. So that's about statement and assumptions. Let's move on to the next one. So once again, we'll have to look at the odd one out. They say choose the word which is not similar to the other words in the group. Okay, this is slightly based on common sense. Okay, there is no information which is made available to us. Based on what we already know about these, we will have to identify those words which do not belong to the group. Now, which are the words? We have a car, cycle, scooter, and aeroplane. Okay. So these are the four words, or rather four vehicles which we have in front of us. Now, out of these, which one should we select as the word which does not belong to the group or which is not similar to the other words? So this, I would say, is slightly tricky because we can easily define two options here. Of course, the institute would have selected only one option as the answer, but we are dealing with logical reasoning here. It doesn't mean that whatever you see is actually correct. Sometimes what you see might not be the truth. So we'll have to examine as to what exactly is the truth based on the circumstances. So now I can easily select either cycle or aeroplane. These are the two obvious choices. Why? Cycle, because it is the only vehicle here which does not run on any fuel. And why aeroplane? Because the other three, they run on earth, whereas this one is used for air travel. So therefore I can either go with cycle or with airplane. But when I checked the institute answer, they had selected cycle as the word which is not similar to the other words in the group. So we'll go with the cycle. Basically what they're trying to do is they have grouped the words based on whether those vehicles runs on engine and fuel or not. So that way cycle would be the word which would be not similar to the other words in the group. Anyway, let's move on. Another verbal reasoning question wherein we have few random words. So RAP, MAP, HOT, FUN. So if you are given these type of words, you have to be very careful not to take the literal meaning of the words. So don't think of this as rap, map, hot and fun. No, these are not meant to be taken in their literal sense. Okay. So now these are just random combination of the letters which also happen to be words. Now what we have to do here is there is a question mark here. We have to find out the next word which is part of this particular group. So we have four options: HNE, PGI, STN, CAT. Now this is also slightly tricky because we have to identify the rule here, the code here. Only then we will be able to identify the next word in the series. Now, how do we identify the code? So one thing which we can easily do is check if there are any vowels used in these words. So we have A here, A once again, O and U. So we know for a fact that there are 5 vowels: A, E, I, O, U. Okay. So out of that we have A, O and U. Doesn't really matter which vowel it is, but what we have to observe here is right next to A we have one consonant R, another consonant P. Right next to A, once again in the second word, we have one consonant M, another consonant P. Same thing with H, which is a consonant next to O, and T, which is another consonant next to the vowel O. Here also in the last word we have U, which is a vowel. Adjacent to N and F, those two are consonants on either side. Same thing with FUN, wherein we have a vowel in the middle and consonants on either side. Now, what is the rule? Vowel in the middle and consonants on either side. So now, is there any such word which fits this particular code out of the options available? Now, if you look at the first option, HNE, the vowel is at the end. Okay. So initially we had two consonants and later we have one vowel, which obviously doesn't fit the bill. Same thing with PGI, the vowel is at the end. STN is completely ruled out because there is no vowel at all. And lastly we are left with CAT, wherein we have one vowel in the middle and we have two consonants on either side. So therefore, out of the four combination of letters, or I would reluctantly call them words, so the one which is following the rule is the last option, option D, CAT, A in the middle, that is the vowel, and two consonants on either side. So let's move on to the next one then. Okay, we have one more blood relations question. There are many parties here. We'll have to identify the relationship. So let's define the relationship here. We have Suresh. They say Suresh is the son of Mahesh and he is married to Sia, whose sister Jia is married to Amar, the brother of Suresh. How is Jia related to Mahesh? So this is actually very easy, nothing much is happening. Though there are many parties, the relationship is not so difficult to define in this case. Let's see how. So now let me start with Suresh. Suresh is the son of Mahesh. So Mahesh is the father and Suresh is the son. And this fellow Suresh is married to Sia. Okay. Who has a sister, that is Sia, whose name is Jia. So Sia, Jia are sisters, and this Jia is in turn married to one fellow named Amar, who is in fact the brother of Suresh. Now, if Suresh and Amar are siblings, so then what is the relationship between Amar and Mahesh? So Mahesh is the father of Amar. And what is the question? The question is, how is Jia related to Mahesh? So now if Amar's father is Mahesh, for Jia that would be father-in-law. But how is Jia related to Mahesh? So Jia is related to Mahesh as daughter-in-law.